Did you ever snoop through your parents' things as a child and absolutely regret what you found to this day? What was it in it they ever find out? NSFW. My dad's journal from before I was born. He was so incredibly depressed. He talked about how my older sister cried on her way to kindergarten and it was the first time he'd been able to relate to her in years. Totally broke my heart. I've never told him though. That was definitely not meant for me to read. That sucks, man. Depression is a hell of a sickness. I hope Ha's doing better. My story is similar. My mom's always been depressed too, and one time I read her journal. 10-year-old me was not prepared to read about her battle with suicidal ideation and all the ways she would kill herself if it weren't for us kids. Shook me to my core and I couldn't even begin to process it. You can bet I've never opened her journal since. Depression is pretty terrible. I think Ha's doing a lot better now though. That was a particularly rough time for him. That's horrible, I'm so sorry. I think I was about 15 when I found my dad's journal and it was rough even then. At 10 I have no idea what I would have thought. My dad's wasn't current, obviously, but he did talk about how he felt conflicted because my mom wanted more kids and he didn't think he could handle it. It was strange knowing how painful my childhood was for him. My memories of it were so good. Hope your mom is doing better as well. Thanks. She's okay, but it's ongoing. She's seeing a therapist and is medicated, both of which seem to improve her overall mental state. She's more open about it now so she can say if she needs space or needs help and we accommodate as best we can. I found my letters to Santa hidden in my parents' socks. In a thread of porn, dildos, and other NSFW things, your story is cute and heartwarming. Well, thank you. It was a heartbreaking moment though. Oh, and a little context. My friend was overnighting at my house and my parents weren't home, so we decided to see if they had dildos, condoms, etc. in their drawers. Just thought it might make my story fit better. Edit, I was 11 at that time, and yes, I believe Santa was real at that age. Wait, no. Got to start practicing safe sex early, right? Found a letter about a kid my mom gave up for adoption when she was 18. Weird to think my mom had a whole different life before I came along when she was 27. My sister snooped in my mom's journal when she was about 13, and found that my mom had also had a child at 18 that she gave up for adoption. I found out by snooping through my sister's diary. Double snoop scoop. Love it. My mom also had a baby girl that she gave up for adoption when she was 18. My dad never knew before he died. My sister reached out after he passed away, and now we see each other multiple times a year, and she is really close with my mom now. We're all having Thanksgiving together. Jesus. That's beautiful. I only found a vibrator. Never says thank you, just rattles about. I found my dad's dildo and leather collar with spikes. Relatable. I'm glad you found out something you can relate to your dad about. Make sure you establish a safe word. I found a riding crop in my parents' wardrobe. I was like, when the duck did we get a horse? Edit, for everyone saying my dad is hung like a horse, he is. I was unlucky enough to get my mom's dick. Found some old nudes of my mom when I was like 11. I didn't realize it was her at first. Man, I have never lost a boner faster. I hate to ask, but at what point did you realize? I'd say about a minute in. I flipped it over and there was a note on the back. It was an artsy wide-angle shot, so it wasn't obviously her. What happened in that minute between discovering the photo and flipping it over? Let's just say I'm not proud of it. Damn, you just took this mom and son shit to another level. I wasn't snooping, but when I was about 14 I was helping mom do laundry like I usually did on Saturdays when I was a kid. I went to put away my dad's shirts and found a Costco-sized box of condoms. It was nearly full. On that didn't bother me. I knew what sex was and figured my parents did it. The troublesome bit was the following Saturday when I was helping with laundry and saw 3 condoms in the drawer instead of 24. I mean, damn guys, it's been a week. Edit, all the suggestions of swinging and orgies have made me think about my parents' sex lives far more often than I like, so thanks. I'm choosing to go with the balloon animal theory. Dang, they are animals. You'd be surprised. Some people nut and throw on a new sock and keep going in the same session. You're telling me you guys change socks? Man. This guy nuts. I was going through my dad's hockey bag. Found his cup, thought it was a face mask. It wasn't till I saw the horrified look on my parents' face that I realized it's not for your face. Edit 1. A cup is a piece of plastic, vaguely shaped like a penis and testicles would, that fits inside a jockstrap to protect that region from damage. Edit 2. Glad to see other people do it as well, it lessens the shame a bit. Nobody cared who I was until I put on the mask. After my dad passed away, I searched through the browser history on his computer. Tons of porn and websites for ordering black market Viagra. I didn't personally regret finding it, but I know my mom would have, so I deleted the history and never told her. My parents had this box of unlabeled VHS tapes all with blank white sleeves in their closet. Finally home alone one day and sneak one into the VCR and what title pops up? Vagina Town. Edit, 2 years on Reddit and this is my first gold. I was born in that town. Remember, you can never go home. When I was a kid I looked through my parents' closet while they weren't there and found anal beads. I didn't know what they were but they were squishy so I put them in my mouth and chewed them. Why the duck do I even come to these threads? Edit, you guys are all right. So you can come to these threads. A bright purple dildo and that's the last time I went in my father's closet. Edit, it also had a hole in it big enough for a finger which creeped me out. I bet he nicknamed it Barney. Please no. My parents got divorced when my dad was caught cheating on my mom. After the divorce I went to visit my dad-in-law when I was about 13. I decided to snoop through his bin of floppy disks and found a very long story he had typed out during the divorce. In it he describes graphic sexual acts with the new woman. How his life would be easier if my mom was to suddenly drop dead. Specifically that he would fantasize about the police showing up at his door to tell him my mom was killed in a car accident. I also learned how his AOL name that he'd been using for years is actually just an inside joke between him and his now wife about the length of his dick. He still uses that name to this day. He did find out that I saw it and he explained that at the time of the divorce he was seeing a therapist who told him to write the story. I think it was meant for the therapist to read and gain some insight into what my dad was going through. What was the AOL name? Microsoft. When I was in middle school, my dad had a box at the top of his bedroom closet filled with hardcore porn on VHS. Later, when my folks weren't home, I watched a bunch of it with my friends. It made me very popular. No regrets. The kid with the porn rules the hormone-crazed boys. I found typed letters from my dad to my mom, in my mom's room. They had been divorced for a couple of years at that time and the letters said some pretty horrible things about her and about how we were being raised. I'm assuming she was keeping them in case she needed them in court. Or possibly to remember what an asshole he was in case she ever felt herself backsliding. When I was a kid there were no such thing as cell phones and we didn't have magazines so going to the bathroom was pretty boring. One way I used to entertain myself was by playing with a round piece of rubber that sat in the medicine cabinet. I would poke it, stretch it, spin it on my finger. Wasn't until several years later during sex ed that it suddenly dawned on me that I had been playing with my mother's diaphragm that whole time. After my dad passed away I found some letters sent to him from his family that dated 40 years ago requesting him to marry his distant cousin so they can keep the family blood pure. He was 32 and she was 11. Side note, Middle Easterns have this weird thing with marrying underage girls who also are your distant close cousins. I found other letters from his relatives saying that they are cutting ties from him because he refused to marry, and that he is no longer welcomed in the country. They had the power to blacklist him. My dad ran away shortly after the first letter that I mentioned, and met my mom who's Bulgarian, who's also 2 years younger than him and got married. Honestly I'm just proud of him. That's so ducked up and sad. Your dad sounds awesome, though.